Why don't I use modes? I get this question from students all the time. And I did study modes quite a bit in the early days. Could never sound the way I wanted to sound with them in jazz standards. And that's a big distinction. Okay. When I met Barry Harris, he said, modes? No, I don't even know what they are. He said to me. I was like, what? And up until then, all I had heard, because that was the wisdom at the time, was you got to know the modes, and you got to practice the modes, and that's how you're going to get any good at playing jazz. So I did what I was told. I just couldn't get the authentic sounds that I wanted to. So I wanted to learn, what is Barry doing that's different? And actually, I'm pretty sure he said to me, he didn't even have conversations with other musicians he played with, and anyone that knows his background of who he played with, it's pretty impressive. He said to me that they weren't even having those sorts of conversations. So yes, the modes, George said, yeah, they're the major scale, right? Paul, you're not a 14th century monk. Not as far as I'm aware. Yes, I mean, modes are, this is called the Ionian mode, the C major scale. C major scale from here is called the Dorian mode. Phrygian mode, Lydian mode, mixed Lydian mode, etc. Aeolian, Locrian. But as somebody said, yes, they're the major scale. So actually, I have limited use for this in what I call functional harmony, in the standards. And we'll see why that is. Now, if you're playing very modal tunes that are more modern and are not full of the functional stuff we use, like 2 5s to 1, 2 5 to 6, 2 5 to 3, flat 3 diminished to 2, some jazz musician and jazz skills jargon, 4 minor 6 going home. If your tunes aren't doing that because they're written probably after 1958 or so, then in some cases a mode might make more sense. So if you're playing So What, for example, that thing, so your comping might go up a mode. In fact, there's a tune that does this. Little Sunflower, or almost exactly like that, right? If you're enjoying this lesson, would you please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when there's a new video. A positive comment in the comments section really helps as well. And if it's time to level up your playing and get some freedom, then consider joining us on Jazz Skills. More about that at the end. For now, let's get back to the lesson. So when there's no clear harmonic function to what's going on in a very modern tune, or maybe on a funk jam and it's on one minor chord, yeah, I can see a case for that because people think like that. In jazz standards that have so much function, not so much. So something that, again, Barry Harris said to me that really stuck with me is he said, every D minor 7 is not the same. What does that mean? Well, D minor 7 could be in 3 major keys. For me, it's not actually the one chord in a minor key at all. We talk about that elsewhere. Which 3 major keys could D minor 7th be in? D minor 7th is chord number 2 in C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is chord number 3 in B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it is chord number 6 in F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Consequently, if it's in the key of C, then it takes the C major scale, right? Now somebody might say, well, why can't you just say D Dorian then? Well, yeah, but I can also, anything that comes from C, I can play C major all over them, okay? If I get my romance, look at these first 3 chords. 1, 2, 3 in the key of C, right? And then we get a flat 3 diminished. That leads to 2, as we expect, because that's what it does most of the time. So for me, if the chords come from C, and you got 1, 2, 3 in C, and then you got 2, 5 in C, you're perfectly within your rights to play the C major scale all over them, right? In improv. Diminished chord tones were there. I don't have to start thinking C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, right? It's just 1, 2, 3 in the C major scale, so I'm taking the C major scale all over them. Again, if that D minor 7th is in B flat, then it's taking the B flat major scale. So an example of that might be, well, actually, that'll be interesting. Let's put this in the key of B flat. Let's transpose down to B flat. Now we have D minor 7th functioning as chord number 3. Jazz Skills members, you'll know this. What does 3 function as in jazz standards? 1, exactly. 1 and 3 mean the same thing. 1, 3. I can even put the 1 in the left hand and put the 3 in the right hand because they share so many notes, right? So here it's also going to take the B flat, well, it's going to take the B flat major scale because it's 1, 2, 3 and B flat, so I can play B flat all over them. I cannot just say when you have a D minor 7th chord, play the D Dorian mode in jazz standards, yeah? Because it depends which key it's in. And if it's going to take the scale of that key anyway, then I don't really need a mode, do I? So what I do instead, I would be looking for C major scale on chords that are in the key of C. That's a chord in C, so is that, so is that. That isn't. So either we would use, in this case, the E flat diminished scale. For newer people, chord tones, no problem. Chord tones with half step approaches, no problem. Back to the key of C because these are chords in the key of C. So if you just take the C major scale all over anything that's a chord in C and then look at what do you really need to do on these other things, then you'll do great. So this E7 is the next chord that is not in the key of C. E7 is not a chord in C because it has the G sharp in there. And therefore I've got another scale choice to make again. So the scale choice for me here would depend on where I'm going. When I have a dominant chord, I'm looking at what comes next. So if the next thing is major, let's say this went to an A major, then I could take the A major scale on that E7, which I also call the E7 scale, because it's the A major scale as well, right? But if it's going to A minor, then I'm going to take the A harmonic minor scale, this one. And I'm going to think of E as the root. And that will give me a sound to take me to A minor. Where some people get confused with that, aside from not knowing the difference between harmonic minor and melodic minor, you know who you are, it happens, all right? Let's iron those out. But where people get confused is they think that means you've got to play the A harmonic minor on A minor. No, I'm back in the key of C by then, so I don't need to think in that way. Let's take it from that C major. So C major scale. And by the way, the only real difference is this, right? Between C major and A harmonic minor. The G gets sharpened. So C major, A harmonic minor, back to C major. And we didn't talk about the A7 yet. I feel that for a new improviser, we can get through most situations with just the major scale, dominant scale, and harmonic minor scale. Most situations. Then there are a couple we add on in, deeper situations. But if I know the C major scale, as we've seen, we can get through all of that stuff. If I know the dominant scale, that's C with a flat 7, right? Which of course is also the F major scale. But if I also know the harmonic minor, then that gives me things to play as we saw on dominant before minor. In other words, if I had G7 going to C minor, I would take, that's minor 7 or minor 6, I'd take the C harmonic minor on the G7 part, right? That gets me through most situations because on a minor 2-5, I've got, let's say if it's B minor 7 flat 5 to E7, that is 2-5 that's gonna lead most likely to A minor. I could be in the key of C for all that to happen because A minor 7th is a landing chord in C. And now I've got that A harmonic minor on the 2-5, right? So major scale, dominant scale, which is a displaced major scale. It's a major scale starting on a different point. And harmonic minor will get you through most stuff. And then there are a couple of others that will refine your playing as well. But I find that a lot simpler than worrying about chord scales, which would change too often and often not even be described correctly. By the way, I would say Jazz Skills members are typically not telling me that the way we use scales is complicated. So, therefore we can focus more on building phrases and structure and rhythm and surround notes and, the Barry Harris scale rules and other things. Well, you made it to the end of this lesson, so I hope you enjoyed it. Consider joining me on Jazz Skills, where we'll take you on a real journey of fluency, not just throw loads of content at you, but really focus on your transformation, teach you which skills need to be in place, how to work on it, and support you all the way. So I hope you'll join me there. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.